time rules all. The person that can go back in time, manipulate time, stretch time out, have more time, that's the person that got all of the power. Not the person with the most money, the person with the most time, right? So when we're dealing with devices that have artificial light, blue light, now our eyes have to interpret this light just like it interprets the sun.
Right.
So how do our eyes interpret blue light?
Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome back to another episode of Wholistic Conversations. I'm your host, Brittany. And if you are someone that's into personal development, spiritual growth, or if you're simply on a journey to becoming the best version of yourself, then welcome, because you are in the right place. And if you are new to Wholistic Conversations, thank you so much for tuning in. Every one of you counts. And if you're watching this and you're really loving the conversation we're going to have today, make sure you subscribe. All right. Now, today I am so excited to introduce to you all a special guest. He go by the name KT Archdegree. KT is the leading voice in natural health, energy, and metaphysics, with over 30 years of research and studying of how the body, mind, and nature is all connected. Now, we all know Dr. Sebi is a legendary herbalist. And guess what, y'all? This is his son. So KT learned at an early age that he learned the power of natural healing. He's since worked with artists like Erykah Badu and Left Eye, spreading knowledge on nutrition, energy, and wellness. KT is known for breaking down the complex topics like frequency, technology, and the human body. He also decodes hidden themes in popular movies, making you think about what's really going on around the world. His mission? To help us reconnect with nature, reclaim our health, and to elevate our minds. So get ready for a powerful conversation. Please welcome KT Archdegree.
Hey, thank you so much. That was an awesome intro.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have this conversation because you're someone you can really dive deep into the things you can't talk with about your friends. If you know things, there's only certain type of people you can have these type of conversations with.
Facts.
So
yes.
Thank you so much for coming on.
No, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. As I said, I've been following the show for some time, so I was real excited when you reached out.
Yes.
So I look forward to the convo.
Okay. Do you know where I want to get started?
I have no idea. You
All
go,
right, well,
go
look,
anywhere you want. What you want to do?
I want to tell you because I want to talk about how technology is mimicking our humanness, right? Our human design.
That's right.
And for us, we have a disconnect about social media and how it's affecting us as humans.
Yes.
So, KT, we live in a world where technology seems to know us better than we know ourselves.
Right.
Social media feed us content like it's reading our thoughts.
Yes.
How do you see technology and algorithms mirroring the human brain?
Well, there's a film that came out some years ago called Deus Ex Machina. And it was a film about an AI female robot that a guy fell in love with. And essentially, when they researched the brain of this robot, they found out that the brain was built based on social media. So everybody's thoughts, what they were into, the things they shared, the comments, the pictures, the reels, all of that was kind of compiled. And this is how this robot was able to understand humanity and essentially understand a man in order for this man to fall in love with it. So I say that to say that when we get into AI and when we get into this technology, the reason why it's able to mimic us so well is because we gave birth to it.
And we're feeding it.
We're feeding it. because Frankenstein isn't the name of the monster. Frankenstein is actually the name of the doctor. And the monster is called Frankenstein's monster. So we're creating this monster through how we're connecting with each other, how we're interacting with each other, and the information that we put in.
So what do you think is the biggest similarity between the human brain and AI?
Well, the human brain, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I should have asked you for some water before we got started.
I'm sorry.
All right. Sorry about
Let
that.
me send a text.
But yeah, I could keep going.
Okay.
Tell me when you're ready.
I'm sorry. You can keep going.
Oh, keep going. Okay, because it's on me right now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I saw you was on the phone. I thought you needed
No,
to pause.
they don't even know that.
They don't know. Okay. All right. So the way that the human brain and AI mimic one another is the fact that the human brain is actually learns on new experiences, and it's based on input. So the newer experiences that your brain is exposed to, and the type of environment that the brain is put in, it's able to adapt, and that's exactly how they're learning to kind of up the ante with the AI. Recently, Google just introduced Willow. Have you heard of Willow?
I haven't.
So Willow is a new quantum chip that they just created. It was released probably right at the top of December. And just to give you an idea of how powerful this chip is, what it would take a supercomputer 10 septillion years to do, which is 10 with 25 zeros after it. Just imagine having that much money. Right? 10 with 25 zeros,
that
right?
can last generations.
That many years, right? That's how long a supercomputer would take in order to solve a complex problem. This Willow is able to do it in 5 minutes.
Wow.
So from 10 septillion years down to 5 minutes. And the reason why it's able to do this is because of it teaching or building the chip in a way that a computer is able to learn from its mistakes. Because that's the problem computers have. Computers aren't able to learn from their mistakes, but our brain does. We can be ignorant and keep running into a wall and being insane. But usually the average person, when they burn themselves, they know, okay, I ain't going to put my hand in the fire no more.
Right.
If they shock themselves, they know I'm not going to touch that socket no more. But a computer doesn't know how to do that.
Right.
It'll keep making the same errors over and over again. It doesn't know how to self-correct, right? So what this chip does is it gives the computer an ability to self-correct.
Wow.
Which is very scary. Yeah.
It's almost like the computer is gaining some form of emotional intelligence.
Yeah, sentience. Right? Yep, exactly. And we essentially are computational. We could be seen as I wouldn't say artificial, but we process. Our innards is very similar to how computers are. Computers operate most efficiently because of something called semiconductors. So a semiconductor is a material that is able to switch between being a conductor and an insulator. So a conductor is able to let electricity flow. An insulator is something that prevents energy from flowing. So that would be like rubber. That'd be like glass. But a conductor would be more like copper, right? And aluminum, right? These are things that can conduct. But a semiconductor can do both. So it's like a gate or an amplifier or a switch that is able to manipulate when energy can flow and when energy can stop. So when you put these in computers, now a computer can process things at a certain rate because it can make the energy flow and stop, flow and stop, flow and stop, go in this direction, turn it around because you have these things in place.
Right.
We have those in our body too. But these are proteins. These are hemoglobin, so it's very similar. It's just the difference is we're self-creating and ever producing, while we have to constantly put resources in order to build.
Exactly.
Right.
Wow. I want to talk about social media.
Okay.
Because as humans, we have a hard time understanding how it's truly affecting us internally because we're not in tune with who we truly are. Mm-hmm. I really do feel like there's a disconnect between us being civilized and us being humans.
Okay.
And we're humans first.
Yes.
So what's happening when we're on social media? Like, they're playing with our emotional triggers. Mm-hmm. We're releasing dopamine. So how is that affecting us when we're on social media scrolling and things like that? I would like to talk about that. Right.
So social media is creating a lot of people who are developing ADHD. Pretty much we have it as a nation now. Mm-hmm. We used to see it more with children. Mm-hmm. Because children, when they watch cartoons, the cartoons were short. The commercials were short. They were in your face because, the way a child minds work, you have to keep them entertained or they get disinterested and they're on to the next one. Mm-hmm. So now adults and humanity as a whole is like that because the way social media is, with you swiping and going from one reel to the next post and this, that, and the third, it's kind of conditioning our minds to not be able to sit still and intake any type of information. Mm-hmm. I come from an era of teachers where the lectures would range anywhere from 4 to 9 hours. And we would sit in our seats and listen to this teacher present this otherworldly conscious information with slides for hours on end and just soak it all in, right? Mm-hmm. But these days, you're lucky if you can get 5 minutes in before people's minds are somewhere else. And this happens because of the light that is being emitted from the devices that a lot of these social media programs are on. So when you are on the particular phone, there's a blue light that is being emitted from the phone, and that blue light actually triggers certain things within inside your brain and your hormones. Mm-hmm. And what essentially happens is between the post that you're looking at and the things that the instant gratification that you're getting, you start to release dopamine. Dopamine is a reward hormone, and in order for a reward hormone to be utilized properly, you need to work because there is no reward without work. Mm-hmm. So dopamine essentially is a motivator. It's something to encourage you, something to kind of light a fire underneath you and push you so you could do hard work. And then at the end, you're rewarded. And then when you're rewarded, you get this dopamine release because you worked so hard.
So now you're saying we're getting this dopamine release without working. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Now you're getting it instantly. So you have a generation of people that feel they don't have to do anything in order to get results. And with that, you get dopamine drops, you get depression because now you're not getting what you want. Now it's not instantaneous, right. And then that affects our emotional state because now we can't be empathetic, we can't be patient or understanding with each other because we're kind of narcissistic or are very selfish. We're only thinking about ourselves and that instant gratification that we get when we're on our device. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. So that's really taken away from our personal relationships with people, a relationship with ourselves. And we're basically having an unbalanced relationship with technology. Mm-hmm. And it's affecting us because when you say that, a lot of people don't understand how hard it is to reach your goals, to reach your dreams. Mm-hmm. And it look easy because we're getting the release from the dopamine to say, oh, okay, look, Instagram, okay, I get what I want. I get what I want. I get what I want.
Sure.
And then in real life, it don't work like that.
It don't work like that at all.
So we're having a whole disconnect between reality and almost the metaphysical world, correct?
That's right. We are in a place where it's hard to distinguish one from the other.
You saying that, though, really just brought up the idea of we don't know the difference between when our eyes are closed and when our eyes are open and what we see, because our brain don't know the difference.
Yes.
So essentially, you're saying the same thing, and that's how all of this is still fundamentally based on our humanness.
That's right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So let's go deeper with that real quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we want to create things, right? Because Earth is a planet, but we could see Earth as a realm, and the realm of Earth is a place of creation. All right, where women give birth, where ideas come into fruition. So when you have an idea, it's something that is conceptualized in your mind. Where does that idea even come from? All right, so we got energy, we got frequency that exists in the air. Our brain is able to tune in, and now we have an idea. So once we get this idea that pops in our head, now we start to kind of formulate it a little bit more, enough where we can now articulate it. Maybe not verbally, maybe through a pen on a piece of paper. It might be a sketch. It might be a couple words. So now we took something that did not exist here. We pulled it, and now it exists in 2 dimensions, right? So it went from 1 dimension to now 2 dimension, because the 1 dimension was the point. It was the point at which it was pulled from. Now it's 2 dimension because now it's on paper on a table.
Right.
So now the next step is, okay, how do I take this thing that I wrote down or that I sketched and turn it into a tire or a car or a blow dryer or some type of invention or some type of creation, which is now in 3 dimensions and 4 dimensions. So that's what we're able to go through the process of doing that. But in dealing with social media, it's taking away the step-by-step process, and we're trying to, quantum leap.
Right.
Straight
like
from,
we're trying to create magic. Like.
Right. Straight from, I thought it, and now I'm walking down the red carpet. You know what I'm saying? And it don't work like that. At least not yet. I'm not saying that people don't have the ability to manipulate the elements in such a way to create circumstances like that. But even those people, they had to develop that gift or that talent to get there. You know,
And it's still a process.
It's a process.
And when you said the idea, and then the idea come from inside, and it start with the eyes, because visualization, the eyes. So idea, I'm like, yo, that is,
That's it. Exactly.
And then we're talking about the eyes, and I want to talk about the importance of how technology is affecting the eyes.
Yes.
It's something that's not talked about a lot.
Right.
It's something that I don't even think it's researched enough, because technology is essentially new. So what are your thoughts about the blue screen and how it's affecting our eyes?
So the research is out there, and there's a lot of papers and research on this. It's just that the average person isn't looking up research and things like that. Of course, especially us being in the holiday season, everybody is out to get new phones, get new devices, be up on technology. And when they do that, they don't say, okay, I'm getting this item. Let me see what research exists. They think just because it's for sale, that is safe. And sale and safe is 2 different things,
Right.
So when we think about our eyes, the initial thought is, if I was to compare my eyes to anything, it would be a camera, because our eyes is to see. We take pictures over and over and over again, where we put them together, and now we have this sequential flow of pictures that creates animation and fluid motion, and we engage in this movie, right? However, that's only one aspect of the eye. The other aspect of the eye is it's also a clock. And if we're thinking about what true power is, time rules all. The person that can go back in time, manipulate time, stretch time out, have more time, that's the person that got all of the power. Not the person with the most money. the person with the most time, right? So why is the eye a clock? The eye is a clock because it actually sets the timing mechanisms within inside our entire human body. And the area of study is called chronobiology. So chrono means time, like in chronos, or like when you say chronological order, right? And then biology is the study of life. So chronobiology is how timing affects the life and the processes within inside of living tissue and living bodies.
Right.
How our eyes operate like a clock is it works along with the sun. So as the sun rises, as the sun sets, and it goes through its different variations of color throughout the day, our eyes, because it has a pupil, is able to allow that light into the body. And when it comes inside the body, our brain is able to dissect and interpret that frequency of light. And that light ends up turning into a code that communicates with the rest of the body and tell the body what to do and what not to do. So our body knowing what to do to benefit us greatly depends on how it interprets the light of the sun or just light in general.
Right.
So when we're dealing with devices that have artificial light, blue light, now our eyes have to interpret this light just like it interprets the sun.
Right.
So how do our eyes interpret blue light? Well, the color blue is very rare in nature. It only exists in abundance in two areas. One is the sky during the day. The other is the water during the day.
Right.
Because at nighttime, there is no sky, it's just stars, and water is black.
Right.
So if my eyes see blue frequency in abundance and very intense, it's going to make that synonymous with the sky, and it's going to make it synonymous with the ocean. I'll give you another example.
Okay.
If it is daytime and it gets very cloudy and dark and you're home, do you feel like doing more activity or less activity?
Less activity.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Because that light getting cut out. And when you look at the sky, it's not blue. You're not seeing the blue anymore. You're seeing more darker colors, more gray. That gives you more of a night vibe. So now you start producing more night hormones and night things inside the body.
Right.
So the devices are beaming us with blue light. And then we're also looking at our phones late at night when we're supposed to be asleep. So our body is thinking it's 2 o'clock, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's actually 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
So now we're not getting rest, we're not getting sleep, we're not regenerating, inflammation, disease, disorder.
And to even go deeper, because now we have that understanding that eyes are powerful receptors of light and energy.
That's right.
So how might the artificial light from screens interfere with our body ability to heal, rest, and operate at its best? Because like you say, we're operating when we're on the screens.
Yes.
It's essentially saying that it's nighttime.
That's
That's
right.
what I gathered, right? So at nighttime, if we're up scrolling late at night, because we all do it, y'all, sometimes, right?
I do it too.
You're up
I'm
late at
guilty.
night and you're scrolling, but now you're scrolling, and sometimes I know my friends say they'll scroll. It's 3 o'clock in the morning out of nowhere. It's not giving your body the proper time to reset, to heal.
That's right.
Because this is the time, nighttime is the time your body gets to unwind.
That's
it
right.
gets to, because you're not eating, you're not moving, and it's literally focusing on digestion and healing.
That's right. So we're diurnal creatures. That's different from nocturnal. Like a
Okay.
mouse is nocturnal. That means that they sleep during the day and they're up at night, right? We're diurnal, meaning that we sleep at night, we're active during the day. We have that, we're active during the sun hours. So during the sun hours, serotonin is the molecule that is in full effect. We're out running errands. We're expansive. Okay, we are expansive, or what you would say, You got centripetal and centrifugal. Centripetal means that you're compressing and going inward. Centrifugal, like a centrifuge, when you're getting your blood tested, it spins because it's whipping everything outward. So it's an expander, right? So during the day, we're centrifugal. We're expanding. We're like blowing up a balloon, right? Expanding, going out into the world. We come up out our bed. We walk out our house. We might go miles. We might get on the phone and get on the internet and be across the world. We might get on a plane and go to other countries, right? And we're doing all this activity. Our eyes are open. We're constantly taking in all of this sensory input, colors and shades and depths and everything like that.
Yeah.
So then when it's time to go to bed, when the sun goes down, we go from this expansive world to a little rectangle, a little mattress, right? And we sit there, we lay down, and we don't move for 8 hours. So we go from expansion to compression. But while we're compressed on that bed, in our mind and in our spirit, we go further than we could even dream of when we're awake, right? And that's because all the light that we sequester during the day, we're collecting light, like collecting donations. You know what I'm saying? We're just collecting light all day long. People are making deposits in the bank of light. We unload that light when we're sleeping, and that light is what regenerates our body. So when we wake up the next day, we can head back out with activity fully replenished and renourished and ready to go.
Right. Ooh, if y'all are still here and listening, we're really just getting started. And
Just
if you're like
up.
what you're hearing, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, because we spend a lot of time and hours staring at the screens, phones, computers, TVs.
Yes.
So what are some of the immediate effects on our eyes that people might not notice?
One of the most impactful things that happens to us that we notice, but we don't know that's why, is it speeds up time. Now, when you was younger and you was out playing in the neighborhood and going to the fourth grade, how long was your school year? How long was summer break?
Long.
When you went out in the morning to play
it's
outside?
shorter. Like when you're talking about when you're having fun.
Well, no, when
Or-
you're having fun, yeah, that goes
Okay.
by quick. But I'm just saying, as a kid,
Yes.
a day in school from 8 to 3
Oh yeah.
took forever. The school year felt like 5 years today, right? But now, a week feels like a weekend.
Come on, I'll be sounding like yo.
It just be zooming, right?
Yes.
And that's because time is affected by the observer, okay? So when we're dealing with blue light, because we're throwing our circadian rhythm off and our timing off, is similar to jet lag. When you have jet lag, you get real tired, you get real sleepy, you don't have energy, you got brain fog, you got to get rest, you're knocked out, you'll wake up hours later, you done missed out on all this time because your body had to like recuperate. So as we're dealing with this blue light, that same effect is going on. So our interpretation of time becomes shorter, so the time speeds up. So it's actually the same time. It's just that because our interpretation of the time has changed, now it's going a lot faster and we're not in the moment as much as we used to be. We're skipping, right? So
Yeah.
it's just zooming. Now, if time is speeding up as a factor with our interpretation of it, then what do you think is going to happen to our body? So our body's going to age.
Right.
So, I could be 25 years old, but I can go to the doctor and get a checkup, and my biological
Metabolic age.
can be 60, even though I'm only 25. So that's one thing the blue light does, is blue light changes our perception of time and speeds time up. The other thing that it does is it creates diabetes.
How is that?
Okay, so melatonin and insulin. You know what a seesaw is, right?
No, I do not.
A seesaw?
A seesaw? Like,
No, seesaw is a I guess you would call it a toy, but it's an activity in the playground. It's one of
the seesaw.
There
the
we
seesaw.
yeah, now
Yeah.
you got it.
Okay, I got it.
So if you sat on one end of the seesaw, what would happen to me?
You go up.
If I sat down, then what would happen to you?
Depending on the weight.
Right.
Yeah, but it's
right. You'd go up, right?
Right.
So insulin and melatonin, right? Melatonin is the sleep hormone. This is what we utilize at night to go to sleep and regenerate, right?
Yes.
And insulin, right, which allows the sugar that we consume in our food to enter into our tissues and our cells to be processed, right? They're on a seesaw. They have an inverse relationship. So if melatonin goes down, what happens to insulin then?
It goes up.
It goes up. If insulin goes down, what happens to melatonin?
Goes up.
It goes up. Okay. So it's nighttime. Melatonin should be high or low? High. Okay. So if blue light triggers insulin spiking, increasing, right?
Right.
Then if I'm up at nighttime and I'm looking at my screen and I'm getting beamed with blue light, what happens to my insulin?
It's going up.
It's going to go up. So if my insulin goes up, what happens to my melatonin?
It goes down.
Oh, so now I don't got no melatonin now at nighttime.
And that's where some people can have insomnia. They can't sleep at night.
Right.
Because the technology, that blue screen, can affect them and how they rest.
And if the insulin keeps going up, now you get insulin resistance. And if I have insulin resistance, then that's going to lead to diabetes.
Wow. Whew, this is deep. Now, make sure y'all watching this, take some time to detox from the phones,
Just go outside.
from the TVs.
Go outside, play some cards.
Go outside, read a book.
Play some games,
You know?
whip out the game, the board games again. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Deal with some people.
Yes.
You know, yeah.
So I want to talk about the blue light from an energetic perspective.
Okay.
So the eyes are often called the windows of the soul.
Yes.
How might constant screen use, dull, or disrupt this connection to our higher self or our natural energy field?
Oh, that's a great question. So yes, eyes are the windows of the soul, and essentially, as I mentioned earlier, it's a clock. So it creates the timing mechanisms of everything in the body. So when you have an overabundance of blue light, what that's going to end up doing is it's going to kind of detach you from who you are. You know, our sun is a cathode. A cathode is a device that is able to emit a lot of electrons, which are negative ions. These are the ions that give us our energy and our charge, electricity, right? The earth is an anode, which gets hit by this cathode, and that's what makes the earth produce electrons. I liken it to a shower. The sun's a shower. It's showering out electrons like water. The earth gets wet. You walk around on a wet earth, your feet get wet, you get water all over you, but instead of it being water, they're electrons, right? So you're getting charged up. You're getting all this energy. The sun has another name other than sun, and that name is solar, right? Because it's solar powered, or you would just call it SOL, soul, right? You mentioned the soul yourself in terms of the eyes being the windows of the soul. Our feet on the bottom is also called what?
Our souls.
Our souls, right? Soles of our feet. So now, if you walk up on the earth barefoot, you're grounding, you're placing your soul on the earth, you're absorbing all of those negative ions, you're increasing that charge. It's impacting your soul. It's impacting your power. It's impacting how you interact with the world and your purpose and how you get certain things done.
Right.
Now, when you deal with this blue light, what it's going to end up doing is it's going to pretty much disable your metabolism. It's going to drop your charge. It's going to decrease your dopamine. You're going to end up being more depressed. You're going to have lack of sleep. You're going to start developing chronic conditions and chronic diseases. It's going to affect your eyesight. You're not going to see as well. You might develop macular degeneration, AMD, acute macular degeneration. All of these things are going to affect who you are. The person inside is not going to be able to express itself because it's so weighed down by all this stuff it needs to address that all came from the non-native electromagnetic fields, specifically the blue light coming out of these screens.
Wow. And you talk about the sun, and even you mentioning that, it reminds me that I feel like they're reversing us. They're making robots, AI, human,
right?
And they're making us robotic.
And the robots, right, exactly.
I'm like, when you saying that, it's like they're taking all of the things that make us human away
from us,
and they're giving it to technology and making that human.
Yeah, I mean, they're not doing that. We're doing that. We're giving.
We're
it
participating.
Away. Yeah, we're definitely
we're
participating.
Active participants
in it. And we don't have to be. But there's other. So when people hear these things and they're like, "So what do I do?" You know what I mean? They're like,
right.
Why can't I like technology? It's like, there's nothing wrong with technology. It's just the frequencies that are being used. So we can still live in a world with nature and technology being used together, because nature's the highest form of technology. That's how they learn how to make all this stuff.
Right.
When you look at certain type of planes like the what do they call it? The F-bomber. They got that from a peregrine falcon, because a peregrine falcon is one of the fastest things on this planet when it dive bombs towards the earth from the atmosphere to capture its prey. So it looked at the shape that falcon forms in order to make that plane. A lot of technologies that we use, they replicated. Velcro. Velcro was taken from birds. When you walk through the park and you got your leggings on or something, and you look down and all the things is like stuck to you. They got little spikes on them. So they looked at those and they was like, oh man, I need to make something like that, Right. And that's how they end up making Velcro, So nature is always influencing technology. So we just have to look at all the aspects of the natural component and incorporate that too, so it's not harmful and it's actually more replenishing
and helpful
to us and beneficial. Yes.
So we're going to pause right here.
Okay.
And I want to backtrack, because now I want to know KT, arts degree, the person.
Yes.
All right. So give me a day in the life of the adolescent KT arts degree.
Oh, the adolescent.
Yes. We gonna take it all the way back, because it's like you say, it's a process.
Yes.
You didn't just acquire this knowledge all in one day.
No.
It's been a lifetime.
Okay. So I came from New York. I was in Brooklyn. And a day in the life. Okay, so I get up, my mom, Mama Pill, she went to the Natural Gourmet, which was a vegetarian cooking school, because there wasn't no vegan back in the day. It wasn't no vegan. It was vegetarian. Vegan is a new creation.
And I figured that out when I went down to Sedona, and all of their restaurants are vegetarian, but it's vegan.
Right,
So
right.
I'm like, okay, this must have been the original term used.
Yeah, vegetarian was, because it was it was a lot more open and lucrative to other things. Vegan is very strict, and then vegan is also a lot of processed stuff too.
Yes.
So my mother was a very good cook. My grandfather was an exceptional cook, so she got it naturally, and then she went to school and she became a cook as well. So she never became like a chef or nothing in a restaurant. She would just cook at home. So, my breakfasts were very laid out. My mama fed me well. So before I went to school, I had me great breakfasts, to start my day off with. She packed my lunch. My lunch was amazing too. I go to school, and my schooling was, it's funny because I was just going through some old stuff at my mother's house about a month ago, and I came across a folder she kept of mine from when I was in school. So I got to see all my grades and my penmanship, and it was all A's and everything like that. My only issue in school was I talked too much.
Okay.
That was what was on my report cards. I talked a lot. And I felt I had the right to, because I got the work done.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And remember, I'm coming from a background of Sabi and nature. My biological father, George Edward Tate, he was the poet laureate of Harlem, so he was Pan-Africanist, so I was real deep in culture with him. My mother was, very free spirit and lively and like beauty and dance and music. So that was, so I kind of got sculptured out of all of that, So when I would get done with school, my day wasn't over yet.
Right.
My mother enrolled me in a program where I was in school with high schoolers. So even though I was like fifth and sixth grade in elementary school, I was sent to a program for biology and science with 10th and 11th graders. So after school, I would walk. I could take the bus, but I would usually walk. I would walk all the way from my school all the way to this high school. And this was like, if anybody understands New York, it was about maybe 15 blocks or something like that. So that's miles, at that point. And then I'd go in there. I'm surrounded by all of these high schoolers. So one, I had to be able to socialize with people that I didn't have nothing in common with except the class. And then I also had to perform in the class, but I did very well in that course, even though they were shocked and amazed. But that's because I had kind of got reared, over all that time. So I get done with that. I take the bus back home. I come home. I do my homework. I eat dinner. Then I watch like a little TV, read my comic books and stuff like that, and then go to bed. So my average day, like when you're talking about during school, was like almost school all day, and getting fed very well.
Yeah.
Summertime, and when I was not in school, I would head out 10, 11 o'clock. I would only have to be back home by the time the street lights came on.
Okay.
Back then, there was no cell phones. You know what I mean? It was the phone at home, and I would head out. I would either play in the neighborhood, or I would take my money from my allowance, and I'd hit the trains, and I'd go into the city, and I would just explore New York.
Yeah.
And then come back home. So I would either be outside and be very explore. I would have fun in my neighborhood with my friends. I didn't have video games. I would only play at their house. And if it was during school, then it was just school stuff.
Right.
But that was me.
Okay. And do you, as a child, because we all, go through things, different phases in life, was there any moment in your childhood that you faced any insecurities?
Oh, yeah.
And what were they?
What? I had an afro when I was a kid, actually, too. I moved from Harlem to Brooklyn. All right. So anybody who's from New York, they can understand the difference between those places. Harlem, I was a lot more kind of shielded because I was home a lot. I didn't really go out and have fun outside there. I was kind of inside a lot more because of the neighborhood we was in. It wasn't really unless my mom took me to the park. When we moved to Brooklyn, though, we was in more of a community, so I could get out. But I'm this kind of herbs and sea moss skinny kid with an afro coming out with Brooklyn kids. So off the rip, they were just trying me. So it was about establishing who I was and, just going through that stage, that rites of passage of becoming a man eventually, you know, and I had to do that in the streets of Brooklyn, you know. So yeah, that's pretty much what I had to deal with. They had a lot of insecurities because, you know, I was smaller, I was different. I had it wasn't any religion that I can relate to with my friends. Holidays, you know, we wasn't celebrating any holidays, so I didn't have that to connect with them. The foods that I ate, it was really nothing except for like cartoons, comic books, video games, and playing outside eventually. So I developed relationships with people in the neighborhood eventually, but in the beginning it was hard.
Yeah.
It was difficult. There was a lot of fights. I remember my mentor, Mr. Hooker, he was a very powerful force in my upbringing. And he saw the trouble that I was having in the neighborhood. And he told me, he was like, how would you like to run the block? So I'm like, what's this, New Jack City? Like, what you
Right.
what do you mean run the block? He was like, do you like the position that you in right now? He's like, do you want to grow? I said, of course I do. So Mr. Hooker was very instrumental in teaching me psychology and how to use the mind. And what I did was I started saying, this ain't to take nothing away from the people on the block. I'm not saying people are stupid or slow or anything like that. But he taught me how to operate from a mental capacity. And I went from having a bully on the block to the bully being in my house baking banana bread for other people on the block in my living room. That was the before and after shot. I remember sitting in my living room and him pulling out banana bread. Like, how did I get here? So he was very instrumental in helping me with my insecurities at that point. That I was able to carry on later in life. So anytime I'm confronted with anything, you know, I just kind of assess the situation and smile.
Yeah.
Because I know exactly what to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important that we teach our children how the mind works.
Yes.
Because that's not taught in school. No one teaches us that we have these inner thoughts. No one teaches us that our mind can create images of things that's not necessarily true. And one of the things, like, I just experienced this with my daughter. She's 6. She just turned 6.
Oh, congratulations.
And we went to go see Muhana 2.
Okay.
And she had a birthday party. It was a baking party, so they baked banana bread and cupcakes.
Okay.
So then we were in the car, she just started crying out of nowhere.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just like, you know, what's wrong? You okay? She was just like, when I close my eyes, I see like me cutting my finger.
Ooh.
So I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, Lavender, you're in control of your mind. You know, even though that might come up, you can always change it.
Yeah.
It's not true. And I'm like, you can think of things that make you happy. You can think of things that make you feel good.
Right.
So then we start talking, okay, so what do you like when you think about your birthday party? We just had a party. We just had cupcakes. Like, how to, like, you know, and think about that, imagine that, and having her know what it takes to control your mind. Because when I think about other parents, sometimes we don't know, so they don't know.
Exactly.
And we were like, okay, it's nothing. Stop crying. Be quiet.
Oh, no,
And it's like, really, no, that's a teaching moment for them to understand themselves outside of being a smart kid, but understanding our humanness. Like, we have, like, even our dreams, and I instill so much into them on a logical perspective, like when they hurt themselves or they hurt, like, let's say my daughter, she fall down, she scraped her knee. I just hurt my knee, it hurt so bad. And she going out throughout the day saying she hurt herself and it hurt. But I'm like, Lavender, the more you focus on, the more you feel it. Focus on your breath, the pain go away.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So things
good.
like that, instilling that into them at such a young age, I only can imagine what they're going to be like when they grow up even more.
Oh yeah,
you know?
yeah. They're gonna remember all of that and use it as they get older. Oh yeah. Definitely.
So we have to talk about, you know, growing up as the son of a legendary Dr. Sebi.
Right.
So what are some of your earliest memories of Dr. Sebi and the work he was doing?
Oh man, so a lot of I started out when it's kind of Dr. Sebi and my life were like parallel. So as I was coming in this world, that's how he was when it would, in terms of health and wellness. He was first in Dominica. And then, there was kind of some trouble there because he was helping all these people, and the power structure there was changing based on who was in power on that island. And when the new people came in, they didn't like how much Sebi had influence on that island. It kind of ran him off the island. So this is how he ended up on St. Croix, which is where I was born.
Okay.
So in St. Croix, this is where he really kind of created the foundation of Fig Tree and established an apprenticeship where he wanted to pass on the knowledge he was learning with herbs and health and wellness to the women, because he felt the women was supposed to have that knowledge to give to the family. So he wanted to train women. And this is where my mother came in. So he started off getting clients in the United States, and one of his clients was Teddy Pendergrass. And I would be the one flying with them, going to all of these different sessions. At the time, Teddy Pendergrass had gotten paralyzed, and he wasn't finding any type of recourse or remedy anywhere. So Sebi came, as well as my mother, and they was able to let him know what he needed to do to better his situation. So my earliest memories is being amongst, certain celebrities at the time, that some didn't even give Sebi credit in the long run. The creation of the Usha Institute in Brooklyn, where the Barclay Center is right now. So running around in there as he was giving his lectures, I always tell people I remember the sea moss pudding. He used to make a pudding out of sea moss and put it in these styrofoam cups. They'd be in the fridge. There'd be like 50 of them things up in there. And I'd be going in there just scooping. That's what I mean about different than what other kids was doing. Like sea moss just blew up 5-6 years ago, maybe 10 years at this point, maybe 8, something like that. But I've been eating that stuff since I was a baby,
Right.
And then one of the things that really stands out to me is Sebi giving me mushrooms as a child.
And
Psychedelic mushrooms,
Yes.
not portobellos and oysters.
right. And this is a good pivotal point in the conversation. And if you all are new to the channel, make sure you check out the episode I did with Red Pill, his brother, because he talked about his experience with Dr. Sebi giving him mushrooms. So I'm so interested and intrigued to know about your experience.
Yeah, first time he gave me mushrooms, I was a baby. I was probably not even a year old yet. My mother was eating mushrooms, though, when she was pregnant with me. And then she was also eating it when she was breastfeeding me, too. So I was getting psilocybin a lot. And psilocybin is the active component in psychedelic mushrooms that is essentially DMT. Psilocin, actually, which is actually DMT. And this molecule is very similar to melatonin, So this is a molecule that's kind of full of light and helps with consciousness and cognition, and pretty much the veil in between the spiritual world and the physical world that we're in. So when you get that molecule inside of your body, it's almost like getting solar exposure nonstop for a year, going out, seeing the sunrise. Like it kind of replicates that type of health that you would get from that experience, but just in those small little doses. That's why so much happens to the brain when you take it.
Yeah.
But he gave me mushrooms when I was a child because Sabi was eating a lot of soy, and they was feeding it to me, and my mother was eating it, and it was in the breast milk. This is before Sabi knew the harmful effects of soy. I'm essentially the reason why he found out soy is not good.
Even organic, non-GMO soy.
Well, yeah, because soy is good, I would say, in a fermented state, probably from like Japan or something, from those type of soybeans, because in it being fermented, it breaks down a lot of those inhibitors that exist inside of it. But most people are, when you're getting tofu at restaurants, just buying it from the store, you're getting it online, or you're buying soybeans and edamame and everything like that. Remember, we're one of the largest suppliers of soy. And if you go out to the Midwest and you drive, you'll drive 10 miles, and all 10 miles was just soy growing on the side of you. So that type of soy is very high in estrogens. This is how a lot of women are getting the fibroids, as well as the emasculation and the feminization that's happening with the men as well. This is harming our digestive system, where we're not able to digest food well either because of the trypsin inhibitors inside there. So he didn't know about none of this stuff at that time, but he noticed how every time I was eating tofu and soy, I'd get constipated and I would just start tripping. So he gave me mushrooms for that reason, and I pushed the mushroom out. I mean, I pushed all of the soy out. The soy came out in a big white ball.
Wow.
It was just this big white ball just came out of me. And then from that point, that's when he started teaching, people don't need to be eating this stuff, because look at what it's doing to the child and everything. The minute I gave him the mushroom, the body just pushed it all out because it wasn't supposed to be there. So that's probably one of my earliest experiences with Sabi. And then he gave me shrooms when I was around 5 years old, along with his son Sasa. We had shrooms together in Usha Institute. And that's when I really had like one of my first vision experiences, so all the while.
Do you recall that?
Spiders.
Okay.
Spiders, purple spiders. They were, so we were in a room, it was like a back room where we was able to hang out, because you come up the stairs in Usha Institute, they had this long desk where people would, you process people at, you keep walking this way. You make a right, there was like a talking area with like this little platform, step with a big window, bathroom. But when you first come in by that desk, that greeting desk, if you go behind it, there was a door that led to the back, and there was a big space kind of like this back there where we would hang at. And we had the shrooms, and I remember spiders coming up out of the floor, crawling outwardly in like a unified structure in all directions, and then crawling up the walls, the ceiling, and then through some kind of hole through the top. And I don't know what that is as a kid, but later I'm like, oh wow, I'm looking at a magnetic field. Because when I saw the toroidal fields, I was like, that's the same shape the spiders was. And when you look at a spider is shaped just like a torus as well. And they make webs, and everything like that. So I was able to kind of tie it back when I got older. And Sabi was good for that. He would give me gems. He would tell me things. He would do stuff.
Right.
I wouldn't know what it was then, but later on, it hit me.
Yes.
And it kind of would be this wisdom that I'd never forget.
Yes.
Yeah.
R.I.P. to Dr. Sabi.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
Dr.
he
Sabi,
shifted the culture for real.
Man,
Yeah.
I didn't know who he was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
None of us, we knew it was my mom and the crew around him, the team, they all knew it was something special happening. It was just my life at the time. But in growing up and just seeing how he exploded, and I tell people, oh yeah, that's how I came up.
Yeah.
They just blown away. And, to know that you were placed in that position when you were younger, it means a lot. You know,
Yeah.
it tells me that I'm here to do something special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it just, I know sometimes for me when I'm in a state of feeling overwhelmed, because I think we all go through different phases.
Yes.
I just remember all the little moments that led me to where I am today.
Yes.
And it reminds me like, okay, I'm on time.
Yes.
I'm not behind. Because, you know, sometimes being an entrepreneur, being a mother, being a podcaster, I carry a lot, you know?
Yes.
And remembering that it's all happening for a reason. I came here for a reason. It's all working out and it's all on time. Even in the midst of me feeling like I'm not doing enough because I'm an overachiever a little bit.
Ain't nothing wrong with
you
that.
know, I just remembered that, no, it's on time.
Yes.
And we do have those moments in life that reminds us. There was a time where I went to Sedona. This is the second time I went back, solo trip. And I did a hot air balloon ride to watch the sunrise.
Oh,
right?
That's next level right there.
I met
hot
this,
air balloon.
a hot air balloon ride. And I met the group of ladies because I'm like, you know, Sedona's majority, you know, another race is not full of Black people. So I met these ladies. They're Black. They're like, yeah, what are you out here for? I'm like, it's my birthday. They're like, wow, it's your birthday. You're out here by yourself. And I think it's so phenomenal. I stay connected with one of the ladies.
Sorry about that.
You're good. I stay connected with one of the ladies from Sedona, and not even on a friendly basis, just through social media. And maybe a month ago, I went out there to Sedona 2 years ago. About a month ago, I picked my daughters up from their aunt's house. We go to a Mexican restaurant to get them some food, actually Jamaican.
Okay.
And I run into her. And I'm like, okay, this is my sign.
This is all I needed.
This all I need is on time because I met her miles away in Sedona, Arizona, and here we are again connecting. It was so
Randomly
random.
in a Jamaican restaurant.
And I'm like, hey, how you doing? It was just confirmation. I think we all have those moments. So like you say, looking back at your life and seeing, oh, I was raised by Dr. Sabi. I was raised by my mother. Every monumental point in my life is attributing to who you are right now and who you're still becoming.
Yes.
So thank you, first of all, for, you know, taking on that mission because it could be hard, you know, especially when people have expectations of you and they think you should just know it all. And sometimes you don't know everything, right?
Facts. Well, you're welcome. And thank you for those kind words. I'm doing the best I can out here. And it's interesting because due to COVID, everybody's Dr. Sabi now.
Right.
Everybody Dr. Sabi. And I get people all the time that I come across and I listen to, and they're just talking, they're regurgitating his words, but they don't understand, they weren't there. So they don't understand some of that stuff is like time stamped, and that when Sabi learned something new, he would let the old thing go. He would move on. And they'll try and tell me certain things. And I'm like, listen, the list was made at a certain time, okay? That list is not the end-all, be-all list. It's definitely a good foundational place to be at, but it's not an indefinite for the rest of your life. That's all you can eat stuff.
Right.
Because I ask people this. I say, okay, so alkaline foods. All right, so what if I'm an Inuit or Eskimo?
Okay.
What am I eating?
I don't even know.
When I'm growing up there.
Yeah.
What fruit tree growing up there? What vegetable growing up there? I know I could get some seaweed probably, you know what I'm saying? So that's it. I'm only eating seaweed.
Yeah.
So these people can't eat their blubber no more, you know? So what if I'm in the desert? What if I'm Namibian?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's growing out there? What can I have? You know? So it's like you eating is based on your environment.
Yes.
Okay?
That's very true.
Because our livelihood is not just our human body. It's our human body in an environment. That's why when we first come in this world, we are in an amniotic sac. right? We in our mama. So it's us, and then it's an environment of an amniotic sac with amniotic fluid, with a placenta and an umbilical cord.
Right.
Right? So we still have an umbilical cord that connects to the environment that we're in. And how much nutrients we're fed through that umbilical cord is based upon how you're interacting with your environment. Do you know all the parks in your neighborhood? Do you know where your farmer's market is?
Right.
Do you take in the sunlight and how it arches over the sky in your geographical location? Because if you are truly taking advantage of all those things, your health is going to be top notch.
Right.
You know?
And speaking of health, I want to hit on a couple topics before we get out of here.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk about plasma. You talked about it a little bit in the interview you were doing.
Okay.
And I remember going to college and donating plasma. That's how you gain a couple dollars, right? So let's dive into plasma donation. So plasma donation has become more popular. So what exactly is plasma, and should we be giving it away?
Oh, we definitely shouldn't be giving it away at all. When we deal with giving away anything from our body, people are making a lot of money off of it. You know, there are certain organs on the market that are 1.5 million. I think our liver is like 900,000 or something. Like, this is the amount of money you can get for your organs. Like a gallbladder is like 250 or something, right? 250K. So, and then when you get into certain fluids, it's the same thing. Plasma is very, very instrumental because it's the medium in which our red blood cells flow. It's our environment. If our blood is the river of life, then life's environment is the plasma. Because in order for anybody to find life in other worlds, the first thing they look for is water. Our plasma is 99% water. This is where the intelligence is in. All right?
Yeah.
So a lot of things is birthed and born out of the plasma of our blood. So the red blood cells are very important because they carry the iron and they carry the oxygen, right? But they don't carry the nutrients. The nutrients are actually bound to a lot of proteins and stuff in the plasma and carried through the plasma. So it's the medium that gets everything where it needs to go, but it's also structured water.
Right.
Plasma is structured water, and the structuring of that water is one of the things that pushes our red blood cells along through our capillaries. It's not just the heart and it's not just the sphincters. It's actually the structure of the plasma that causes a force that pushes the red blood cells along, that gets it to all these tissues. The plasma also becomes the cerebrospinal fluid, the lymph in our body. So when we're talking about the waters inside of our body that gives ourselves the energy and the health that we need, all of that derives from the plasma.
So we should be cautious about giving away our plasma.
Yeah, don't give your blood away. You need your blood. You need your blood. Now, if somebody in your family's sick or dying and everything, and they need a transfusion, and you could help them,
right?
Your child, you know what I'm saying? Your parents, then you know what I mean? But these little banks, that stuff, you don't know where that stuff is going.
Okay.
And they're doing research on there. They're extrapolating things on there. And usually they study these things so they know how to hurt people more.
Right.
And you're standing up like, hey, I'll donate.
I'll do it for $50 or $100. You know,
that's crazy. Yo, anything that you give from your body shouldn't be $1 less than $1 million, bro. They should be giving you $1 million for the smallest drop of anything of you.
And that's why they probably target the college areas.
Yeah,
because
they need money. They don't see the value in it. Nobody taught them anything.
We're helping the babies.
They're vampires.
Yeah. Wow, this is the perfect time for our health break. I have a company called Herb and Flow.
Okay.
And I manufacture health food products like sea moss gels, herbal capsules. And I think a really cool story is I discovered sea moss because I was nursing and I was pregnant and I was vegan and gluten-free.
Okay.
So I went down to about 155 pounds.
Oh, wow.
I had to stop nursing my 9-month-old daughter. And I was like, I still need to give her nutrients. She was 9 months at the time, so she was eating solid food. But I'm like, she still needed a form of milk. And I couldn't choose between the cow's milk or the soy milk on a form, the formulas on the shelf. So I created my own milk. And this was in October of 2019.
Okay.
And I learned about sea moss, bladderwag, like all of these things that can provide the baby with nutrients.
That's right.
So then I was like, as I'm doing my research on sea moss, I'm like, yo, more people need to know about this, right? So that's how it started with me providing it for my daughter and myself, and then wanting the world to know more.
Okay.
And that's when I started learning about Dr. Sabi and everything. And eventually it just snowballed into me making sea moss gels, and I got into stores. And when I tell you, y'all, that things really do happen on time, even if it feel like it's not.
Yes.
In 2020 of March, boom, the pandemic, and everybody wants sea moss.
Sea moss.
You know what I'm saying? So I was like, wow, that was like
right on time.
Right on time.
Look
So
at that.
I have you a gift, and I would love for you to try it today. This
Okay.
is my sea moss chlorophyll activated charcoal slippery ambar.
Look at that.
So it's
right
really good
there.
for a daily detox. We're breathing in pollution. We're consuming processed food. So this is a gentle daily detox to help eliminate.
Oh, this is
all of
good
the toxins.
stuff. You got the cilantro in here, slippery elm bark. All right, you want me to take a scoop?
Yes, I want you to take a scoop right now on the spot and let the
On
people
spot.
know
Okay.
what you think about it.
All right.
And you can take it home as
She
well.
gave me the green.
The green. And a lot of people look at it and they, get nervous.
Oh, I ain't afraid
but
of it. If you've been drinking Cascara your whole life, man,
this is
please.
nothing. This is easy.
All right, let's see what we got here.
All right, fingers crossed.
Smell it. Smells good. Good texture. Very good. Oh yeah, that's good right there. Oh yeah. Yeah, that apple juice go a long
There you
way
go,
right
you
there.
know?
The apple juice. Yeah, I don't taste no ocean, no sea, nothing. It has like a what consistency can I say? It don't taste like it's gel, but not like
A lot of people say like applesauce.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Yogurt or
it's like an applesauce with a pudding texture. Pudding.
because it's smooth. It's not gritty.
Smooth,
It's
yeah.
smooth.
Very
Yes.
good. Yeah. That's
Okay.
some good stuff.
And do you want to bring out your product that you have?
We got the Nessuit nectar right here. This is the stingless bee honey. So Sabi would speak a lot against honey because the honeybees that exist, when you go to the store and you buy honey, these are hybrid bees. You call them hybrid bees. And, you hear that. You like, come on, Sabi. Like, even the bees is hybrid, man. They out here
Yeah.
pollinating all the food and stuff. They good. But when you do the research, you find out, they did breed the bees, and they came up with this Apis mellifera. And the original bee were very small. They like gnats, and they only make honey once a year. And the honey is extremely medicinal because these gnats are so small. Think about all of the small flowers, the little flower. Them big bees can't fit in there. They
Right.
can't pollinate. They can't get none in there. But these little bees can get in there. They pull the nectar, they pull the pollens, they come back, and when they make honey, they kind of stitching together one of the greatest compounds or tonics you could think of because they're hand selecting nectar from the most potent herbs from the jungle and making this honey. And it has the consistency that is more bioavailable than almost anything else you could take. What makes this honey stand out is you're able to put it in your eyes. So the eyes are the only part of the brain that's on the outside of the body. Right. And usually when we have brain issues, we have to consume something. And when you consume it, it has to go through the digestive system. And the digestive system is exhausting. Let me tell you how exhausting the digestive system is. You got to chew. You got to swallow. It got to go through peristalsis. It got to go through the cardiac sphincter. It got to go through the stomach. It got to go through the pyloric sphincter. It got to go through the duodenum. It got to go through the jejunum. It got to go through the ileum. Then it got to get absorbed in the microvilli and go in the bloodstream and go to the liver. And then hopefully it can pass the blood-brain barrier when it gets up to the brain.
Right.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
So you think by the time you get to the brain, you're still as potent and strong and full of energy as when you first started consuming and breaking the thing down? Usually, no. You hoping you took enough that enough got through.
Right. And considering the world we live in, our digestive system is totally out of whack. So
not good,
we're not even absorbing the nutrients.
The intestines have microvilli, these finger-like projections. They like little hairs, and they're supposed to move like the sea anemone in Finding Nemo. You know.
Okay.
But when we eat the wrong way and have a very acidic diet, it's like it gets permed. They relax and they lay down. So now you don't have these things, these fingers, and that's where the stuff gets absorbed to go into the blood.
Right.
If they're not up and they're not moving, it's passing right through you. So with the honey, by you putting it in your eyes, it's bypassing all of that. You're going straight to the source.
Right.
You'll feel it in your sinus. You'll even taste it. People that are done getting it dropped, a few minutes later, be like, I could taste the honey. It never went in their mouth, though. It only went in their eyes, and it goes deep into the brain to all your little centers, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, paraventricular nucleus, the pituitary, the pineal, all these areas of the brain, they get bathed with all of the flavonoids and the hidden miraculous elements that are in this honey. They permeate through that brain. They reduce inflammation. I have a situation where there was a girl who was in the hospital, non-responsive, couldn't eat, had a tube down her throat. Doctors were saying she might not live. The father got the honey and put the honey in her eyes every day, and she woke up.
Wow.
Now she's talking, she's eating, and that's all she had.
Yeah. Powerful.
You know?
Yes.
I also have another celebrity. So I'm not going to say his name, but everybody going to know who I'm talking about.
Okay.
But there's a certain high profile celebrity that went in a hospital last year. Nobody knew what happened to him. And folks thought he was about to die. He was in a coma. Somebody in his camp ordered a bunch of the honey. They started putting the honey in his eyes. That's what woke him up.
Did he just release?
Yep.
You know what's so interesting? He mentioned that he recovered fully from the stroke. And that's like so unheard of, because my father had 2 strokes. The second one,
you
took
usually
him out.
get a preliminary in the second. Yeah, it's my condolences.
So to have a full recovery is like
how?
Exactly.
Yeah, they were dropping that thing in his eyes every single day, and after it happened, the daughter reached out to thank us.
That's powerful.
No, this is powerful. This is powerful here.
That's what I've noted. Because I even in the comments, people were saying like, "How did that happen? How did he have a full recovery?" And because it's unheard of.
I watched it. Waiting for something to be said,
right?
And
like
nothing was said. So I was like, "Oh, okay." He keeping that in his back pocket. He don't want nobody to know,
right?
But I said, I'm about to start telling people though. You're gonna have to deny it now,
right? No, for sure.
Yes.
So, do you want to try it out or do it after?
I think the question is, do you want?
I mean, I do want to try it. I do want to try it.
All right.
I do want to try it.
Well, we gonna have to try it then. All right. So what we're about to do is we're about to put some honey in her eyes. Okay. So let me explain what the process is.
Okay.
Okay. So you're gonna put your head back. And you're going to take your fingers so you can make your eyes real wide.
Okay.
And you're going to look either to the right or to the left, either way, and I'm going to drop it in the white of the eye.
Okay.
When you close your eyes, you're going to feel a little burn. I compare it to like cutting onions If you stay there and keep cutting them, you know how intense it gets. But eventually, just take deep breaths. Don't put your head back up. Keep it back. Don't panic. Just breathe through it, and it's going to pass.
Okay.
All
It's
right.
like I tell my daughter.
Yeah,
So.
it's going to pass.
Yes.
And then while it's going on, I'll keep talking to the people as you're going through the process.
Okay. And you know what you can talk to the people about as it go?
All right.
I really want you to talk about, you know, you're known for, not call my friend, and, you know, I ask around when I have a guest on. I'm like, what do you know about him? What do you think? And they're like, oh, KT Archdegree is known for decoding movies. He created a movie. And this is like, I know him from those times.
Yes,
you know?
yes. I break the movies down.
And I don't know if you've seen Moana 2.
No, I haven't seen Moana. Yeah, Moana 1, I love Moana. I'm gonna see it with my daughters this upcoming weekend. I've been kind of holding off. I've been wanting to see it. But I did see Wicked.
Okay, I haven't seen that one though.
I did see Wicked,
okay.
So I could get into that, but you ain't seen it, so I ain't
seen it. But I would, because one of the symbols that I realized that is in all children movies and TV shows is the spiral. And I'm like, what does that symbolize? What is that meaning? So you can talk about that.
Yeah, that spiral.
As you putting the drops in, and I want to know. You know what I'm saying? Because we are on the time limit here.
Okay.
And so I definitely want to try that out, and I still need to know about those spirals.
Spirals.
Yes.
All right, let's go.
Boom. Let's do it.
All right. Okay, so I guess I should stand here, or should I go on that side?
Whatever you think.
Okay, I'll go right here.
Okay.
So make sure you can get comfortable enough where you can rest your head back on here.
I need something. Do I need to like scoot down a little bit?
Yeah, scoot down a little bit. There you go. Yep, perfect.
Okay.
All right.
Open my eye. I'm nervous.
Most people are shy. All right. So open them up and look to the left. Do it like this. That way I can get both. There you go. Yeah. Perfect. All right. Okay, close them. All right. You can put your hands down. All right. And breathe. In the nose, out the mouth. And what you're going to do is you're going to, like you go to a eye doctor and they tell you to do the eye exercises where you look to the left and you look to the right, you look up, you look down.
That's what I'm doing with my eyes.
Circles, yeah.
Okay.
You're just going to keep moving them because the more you move your eyes, the more it's going to mix with your tears and it's going to start to fall back towards the brain. Okay.
I feel it slowly too settling down.
Yes. So I suggest people when they get the honey, especially with it being winter now, that you sit it in. I had it sitting in a jar of very warm water, and that just helps thin it out a little bit more. And then when you put it in the eye, it's not as intense because if you put it in your eye when it's very thick, then because it's in that thick state, it's very viscous, and your eyes are so sensitive and watery, the difference between those two states of matter causes a little bit more irritation than you would like. So I implore people, just don't warm it up on the stove. Don't do boiling hot water. You're going to mess with the nutrients. Just sit it in a bowl of warm water in the bottle and you'll be fine. Okay. All right. So yeah, the spiral. So
wait, how long I need to keep my eyes closed?
Oh yeah, you're gonna do this while I talk.
Okay. Let's do it.
You about to be in the spiritual world right now. Just keep moving it around, and then I'll let you know when to blink. When you open your eyes, you're gonna blink, and you're gonna start tearing. And the only thing I don't have right now is the wipes. So make sure you have like wipes or paper towel around so you can clean yourself up. We're gonna get her right when she's done. Okay. All right. So the spiral, and this is the same spiral that was on the Heart of Tafiti in the first one you're speaking of, right? So that's similar to what I spoke earlier about the whole circadian rhythm situation of night versus day, where during the day you're active and then in the evening you're not. So it's centripetal versus centrifugal. When you deal with a spiral, it's the golden spiral. And the golden spiral is dealing with the Fibonacci sequence and the sacred measurement of breath. And when you're dealing with that sacred measurement of breath and that golden spiral, you can infinitely go in or infinitely go out, which is a mathematical number of 0.618 or 1.618, which is known as the phi or the phi ratio. All right. And the phi or the phi ratio represents the magnetic and electromagnetic field, or the conjugated forces of electricity and magnetism, which is the foundation principle of just life and energy dynamics, you know? So whenever you see that spiral, that's what you're seeing, because the spiral can either, you can look at it from both ways, where it's starting at the center and is going outwards, and that's centrifugal. All right. That's centrifugal. Right. Or it could be starting on the outside and going in, and that's centripetal. Okay. Centripetal is like you flushing the toilet and it's spiraling down the drain. Right. But then if you see a geyser coming out like Old Faithful in Yellowstone Park, and you see that water shooting out, it's spiraling and shooting out. And it's the marriage of those two forces, the hyperboloid and the torus, the expand and the compression, that is the underlying energy dynamic of reality. So whenever you see a movie on the level of Moana, when they're talking about spirituality and going through the different realms, because the first one was about the different orishas. They had the orishas. They were going through all the African deities and everything in that one. And in order to cross over and have that spiritual conversation, you can't have it without having that principle being it. And remember, where did she put it? She put it right in the heart. And where does the heart sit? Nestled in between the lungs. And what do the lungs do? The lungs are there to breathe so that you can create that and infinite breath in and out and compression. Exactly. All right, so now you can start to blink slowly, and it's going to make tears. Go ahead, keep blinking, blinking, blinking. There we go. Take a deep breath. All right, and you're good. Now, normally you would do this for 5 to 10 minutes, and it's best to do it in low light or dark because your eyes dilate, and when your eyes dilate, the pupil is larger. So you're able to take more in.
Okay.
How you feel?
I feel good. I feel good. I feel like I can see better already.
Nice. No, as the day goes on, you're gonna notice it. You'll notice clearer. A huge difference. Yes.
And it's not as bad as like I have seen people on like your social media.
Man, you got some like, people that they be going. But that's because but you got beautiful eyes. Your eyes are white and they're clean. So you're not going to deal with them as much. Plus, you was able to hold your eyes open. Some people's eyes are very red. You know, they can't open them. They're dealing with a bunch of stuff.
Right.
So when you drop them in there, it's doing all that work, and that work feels irritating, you know, to the eye.
Okay.
But that's for you.
Got me out here crying on
that's
the podcast.
Yours.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes, there you go. Don't refrigerate it. Keep it out.
Okay.
You can ingest it. You can put it on cuts and wounds.
Okay.
It's going to heal. If you have like a little bump pop up or a rash or something you don't want on your face or your arms or something, put it on there.
Okay.
And after a couple hours, you'll see it goes away. But if you drop those in your eyes every day, you're going to be seeing through walls by next week.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to Wholistic Conversations. As we wrap up this enlightening conversation, it's clear that there's so much more to our everyday experiences than we often realize. Whether it's the way we interact with nature or the media we consume, your knowledge has sparked curiosity, and I know our listeners are going to leave with a lot to reflect on. Yes. So before we close, I want to say thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Oh, you're welcome.
And giving us a deeper understanding on how our energy, human biology, and nature intertwine.
Yes.
It's inspiring to know that we all can take small steps towards reclaiming our health and our energy.
Yes.
And before I get out of here, I ask every guest the same question. what is one piece of advice you would like to share to the world?
One piece of advice that I would like to share to the world. Okay. My advice to the world is this. We see ourselves as light beings, and the most prominent example of light is the sun. For when it rises, it covers the entire planet. What I suggest you all do is do your best from this point forward to get up every morning and catch the sun rise. If you happen to be somewhere where there's trees and buildings and you can't literally see it come up, find out what time it rises, go out in your backyard or to a park, ground, and be outside as the light starts to increase. That's how you know the sun's rising, because it's getting brighter outside. You attuning yourself to that morning light every single day will create a new time mechanism in your body. And that fast pace thing where it looks like time is speeding up, it'll start to slow down to the point to where you're actually now controlling it. So what's my advice? Do not miss another sunrise. And go to soionicbotanicals.com as well, so you could get some of that honey.
You feel
Can't
me?
leave that out.
You know, you can't leave that out. And one more remark I want to say is I'm someone that really enjoys the sunrise, the sunset, looking at the stars. Mm-hmm. And I always wonder why, but I don't know, it's so calming.
Yes.
And I don't know, it's like, it's something you can never get used to. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like sometimes when life continues to happen in a good way, and you're like, oh, wow, that's happening. Wow, it's all coming together. Wow, Look at that moment. Look how this is happening. The sunrise give me that same feeling every day.
That's right.
Like, wow, this is so beautiful. It never gets old. So
well, the sun actually creates a molecule in your body, in your brain, called POMC, POMC, pro-opio melanocortin. Once it makes that molecule, it's almost like going to the grocery store and buying 1,000 groceries. Now you can make like all these different dishes. So your body cuts it up into 13 different peptides. Some of those peptides are endorphins. Some of those peptides are cannabinoids. Some of those peptides are opioids. And then you got alpha, beta, and delta MSH and ACTH. So being in the sun is like creating your own heroin. If heroin was good for you, if it was good for you.
Right.
But you make your own positive drug just being in sunlight. So that's what you're feeling. You're feeling the creation of endorphins, and you're feeling that opioid release in your body that makes you feel so good. The light from the sun is doing that to you.
And I make sure I sit out in the sun. Like, even when it's cold, I have to go sit in the sun. It just energizes you. Sun gazing. I think because, there's a misconception that you don't supposed to look into the sun.
Right.
I remember doing my research and, when I started meditating, and for some reason, I'm like, let me just see if I can look at the sun. And sometimes it's hard, and I Googled it. They're like, no, don't look at it. It can damage your eyes. Like, how true is that? Could the sun damage your eyes?
Oh, it could definitely. But so you ever watch TV and the picture's not right, so you put the menu on and you have to start adjusting contrast, tint, picture, brightness. There's also something called color temperature.
Right.
And the sun goes through a variation of color temperature from it rising to when it's setting. So our phones and our devices that we use are like 7,500 Kelvin, which is the same color temperature the sun is at like 2-3 o'clock during the day. That's intense. You don't look at the sun when it's 2 o'clock. It's beaming. It's too strong. But when the sun's first coming up and it's first rising and it's red and it's orange, that's when you look at it. So it's within an hour of it rising and within an hour of it setting. That's when you can stare at the sun.
Okay.
And do it for a few seconds and then look away, and then a few more seconds and look away. And then you can build up tolerance over time, but never at 10 and 11, 12.
At the
30.
highest point that the sun is.
No.
Okay.
That's when it's damaging to your eyes.
Okay, I'll note that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you once again. I do taste the honey now. I felt it in the nostril, and now it's going down.
Now you taste it.
I'm tasting it.
I put it in her eyes, but she tasting the honey. What's that about, huh?
I am. So thank you again for your knowledge. I really feel like at some point we go do a part 2.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because I'm
that
like,
that was
a warm up.
That was a warm up. I'll come back in here and take the gloves off next time.
Okay. And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Wholistic Conversations. I'm your host, Brittany. We had the amazing, brilliant, thought leader, KT Arts degree on today. If you all enjoyed the conversation, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you subscribe, and I will catch you next time. Do you want to let the people know where they can find you?
Oh, yes. You can find me. Oh, yeah. Before I say that, thank you for bringing me on your platform.
Yes.
To exchange these words with you. I had a wonderful time. I look forward to coming back.
Hey.
And you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Patreon, all under KT the Arch Degree. KT the Arch Degree. Arch, ARCH. Arch Degree. And the website is soionicbotanicals.com. Soionicbotanicals.com. Of course, she'll have links and everything in the description for y'all to get right to it. And all my social media has a link tree to take you straight to the site also. And I will, there'll be a code.
Okay.
When this comes out, I'll give her a code. So you put the little code in, and you'll get yourself a nice little discount off whatever order you decide to get, which I know something is going to be the honey at least.
Yes. All righty. And peace out, you all. Catch you next time.
Peace.